if access to information keeps expanding, does our understanding necessarily expand as well?
It's a massive question. And it's basically the underlying assumption of the entire digital age, isn't it?
Right.
We operate on this premise that uh, more data, more connectivity, and just more processing power naturally equate to a broader, more capable mind.
Yeah, it feels like basic arithmetic. You add more facts to the pile and, well, the pile gets bigger.
Exactly.
But today, we're actually challenging that math. We are pulling apart a truly fascinating framework today for this deep dive.
It really is.
It's built from a collection of structural notes and a thesis titled Why Civilization Begins to Build Closed Worlds. And alongside it, there's this counter-concept known as reflective humanism.
Yeah, and what stands out immediately about this framework is its angle of approach.
How so?
What we spend so much time debating the politics of algorithms, or like the economic incentives of big data, or the ethics of artificial intelligence.
Oh, for sure.
Right. But this analysis just bypasses all of that. It looks strictly at the structural architecture of civilizational cognition.
Civilizational cognition, that's a heavy phrase.
It is. I mean, it basically asks how humanity actually processes reality in an era of just absolute overwhelming information abundance.
And to kind of ground that abstract idea, I want you, the listener, to reflect on your own habits for a moment. Just think about your daily information diet.
Yeah, that's a good exercise.
When you're scrolling through a feed or looking for a quick answer, or maybe reading an AI-generated summary that pops up right at the top of a search result, do you genuinely feel like your mind is opening up to the unknown, or do you feel like you're just becoming more insulated, more certain of the things you already believe?
It requires a bit of brutal honesty to really sit with that question.
Totally. I'll go first, actually.
Okay, let's hear it.
Honestly, half the time I use those quick summary tools, I feel like incredibly productive in the moment.
Sure, you get the answer instantly.
Right. But if you ask me an hour later what I actually learned, it's just a vague reinforcement of my existing worldview. It's kind of embarrassing.
No, it's completely normal.
I want to figure out why that happens.
Yeah.
So, looking at the tools driving our daily lives, the smartphones, the recommendation engines, the auto summaries we know they give us unprecedented access,
Yes.
what is this framework arguing is actually going wrong here?
So the argument is that while these systems do provide access, their structural mechanism primarily acts to rapidly circulate the known.
The known, okay.
Yeah, they operate as engines of fast explanation and hyper-optimized recommendation.
Oh, wow.
The problem we face isn't a lack of information or, a lack of observation. The real bottleneck is that these systems are structurally optimized to remove cognitive friction.
Cognitive friction, so they just make everything too smooth.
Exactly. By constantly feeding us familiar explanations, they're subtly altering our ability to make contact with genuine novelty.
Let me try to put a visual on this.
Go for it.
Imagine walking into the world's largest, most magnificent library. It holds every piece of knowledge ever recorded.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
But the system running the library is so hyper-optimized to your personal preferences that the moment you walk down an aisle, the books physically rearrange themselves.
Oh, that's creepy, but yeah.
Right. The librarian only hands you texts that confirm the exact thought you had when you walked through the doors.
Yes.
You feel like you're reading. You feel like you're learning. But your actual intellectual footprint inside that massive building never expands beyond the front desk.
That captures the illusion of progress perfectly. You aren't encountering the unexpected. You're just encountering highly optimized variations of the expected.
It's just a mirror.
Pretty much. And to understand why this happens, the framework maps out the underlying cognitive loop that these technologies facilitate.
Okay, let's get into the structure.
It calls it a closed circuit of cognitive compression.
A closed circuit. Let's break down that circuit. Like, how are we actually processing information right now according to this?
The modern loop follows a very specific recursive sequence. It starts with an observation.
Okay, I observe something.
Right. And that observation immediately triggers an explanation provided by the system.
Like when I Google something and get the AI blurb.
Exactly. Then that explanation is distilled into a summarization.
Bullet points.
Yep. Based on that summary, the system offers a recommendation. If you like this, read this.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And that recommendation leads you directly into a reobservation of a highly similar data point.
Observation, explanation, summarization, recommendation, reobservation. It's a literal loop.
It is. And because the system's primary directive is to give you a recommended summary of what you just observed, the entrance to the outside world continually routes you back to your starting position.
It just keeps looping back.
Yeah, this recursive cycle encourages the constant repetition of existing interpretations.
Okay, well, I have to push back here for a second because I think a lot of people listening might be thinking the exact same thing I am.
Sure, what's that?
Why is getting an immediate explanation being framed as a negative?
That's the big question.
I mean, if I'm reading about a highly complex geopolitical event or like a dense new breakthrough in quantum physics, I experience the discomfort of not understanding it.
Right.
Getting a fast, clear, tailored answer from an AI feels like a massive cognitive victory. It feels like learning. Why is this framework calling that a trap?
Because that is the core tension of this entire thesis.
Sure.
To understand why it's a trap, the analysis contrasts two distinct cognitive paths.
Okay.
They call them the open process and the compressed process. Let's look at the mechanics of what happens in your brain when you encounter that complex physics breakthrough.
Walk me through the open process first, like the traditional way,
So in the open process, you encounter the unknown.
the confusing physics paper.
Right. Because you don't understand it, it generates a feeling of discomfort.
Very familiar with that.
We all are. And that discomfort forces you to formulate a unique question. You have to figure out what you don't know. And that question launches you into exploration. So the sequence is unknown, discomfort, question, exploration.
It's an active process.
Exactly. It creates an expanding spiral. You are actively wrestling with reality. You're mapping new territory in your own mind.
Okay, so contrast that. What's the compressed process? The modern loop.
In the compressed process, you encounter the unknown and you feel that exact same discomfort.
The same confusion.
Yes, but instead of formulating a question, you are immediately handed an explanation.
Top-up summary.
Exactly. That explanation instantly grants you cognitive closure. The discomfort is solved, but the exploration is entirely bypassed.
Wow, you skipped the wrestling match entirely.
You do.
The tension is gone before you even had to, articulate what you were confused about.
And the framework introduces a highly specific term for this initial tension. They call it transparent pain.
Transparent pain.
Yeah, transparent pain is the natural, necessary friction that occurs when your internal cognitive operating system clashes with the unpredictable, nonlinear, messy external world. It is the literal feeling of a paradigm not fitting.
But transparent pain sucks. I mean, nobody enjoys feeling ignorant or confused. It makes complete sense that we reach for our devices to make that feeling go away.
Of course it does.
We're basically self-medicating our cognitive dissonance.
We are. And fast explanations are a highly effective painkiller.
Right.
But the cost of rushing to cognitive closure is the destruction of what the framework calls spare capacity.
Spare capacity. What's that?
This is a vital concept. Spare capacity is your internal cognitive buffer. It's the mental margin, the blank space, that allows a human mind to hold contradictory thoughts, to sit in ambiguity, and ultimately to make nonlinear creative leaps.
Oh, I see. So by instantly medicating the transparent pain with a prepackaged summary, I'm consuming my own spare capacity.
Exactly.
I'm filling my internal blank space with someone else's synthesized conclusion before my brain even has a chance to stretch.
You're outsourcing the stretch.
Yeah, I can see how that stunts an individual mind. But let's follow the logic of this framework. What happens when we zoom out?
Let's do it.
Because if I'm losing my spare capacity and the person next to me is losing theirs, what happens when this compressed loop scales up to the entirety of human civilization?
This is where the analysis shifts to the concept of planetary cognition.
Planetary cognition.
Yes. At a civilizational scale, the thesis suggests that our primary mode of operation is no longer trying to organically understand the world.
What are we doing then?
We are relentlessly compressing it into easily explainable forms. For the last 10,000 years, humanity's grand challenge was information scarcity.
Right. Trying to find the facts.
Today, the grand challenge is excessive self-reference.
Excessive self-reference.
Yeah.
That implies we're essentially just talking to ourselves about ourselves on a planetary scale.
It does.
If our primary goal is just to compress the unknown into the known as fast as possible, are we isolating ourselves? Like, are we building a digital bunker to hide from the actual universe?
Oh, the framework uses the term closed world, but it makes a very careful distinction about what that actually means.
Okay.
A closed world is not an isolated bubble. It's not a society completely cut off from external stimuli, like a walled city shutting its gates.
If the gates are still open, how is the world closed?
Because a closed world is a civilization where every single time you touch the external, every time you encounter genuine novelty, it is instantly absorbed into an existing, familiar narrative. It's
Oh.
an assimilation machine.
I get it. It's not that we don't see the outside world, it's that we immediately paint it with the colors we already have in our palette.
Beautifully put, yes.
If an anomaly appears, we don't let it be an anomaly. We
Filter.
instantly categorize it into a folder we created like 5 years ago.
Exactly. And if the speed of that compression outpaces the speed of true exploration, our contact surface with the unknown silently shrinks.
It shrinks.
The civilization ceases to be an open intelligence when it is vulnerable to the outside and capable of being fundamentally changed by it.
Wow.
Instead, it shifts into an intelligence that merely repeats itself at higher and higher resolutions. It becomes a closed loop of its own explanations.
That is a staggering way to frame it. A civilization that genuinely believes it's exploring the cosmos, but in reality is just meticulously categorizing the universe into a spreadsheet it already wrote.
Yes, it's the ultimate echo chamber, but it masquerades as omniscience.
So if we're recognizing this, if we see that our civilization is accelerating into this closed loop of cognitive compression, how do we disrupt it?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because the solution clearly isn't to throw our servers into the ocean. We aren't going to uninvent these explanatory systems. How do we keep the open process alive without rejecting modern technology?
This is where the second half of the framework comes in. The documentation on reflective humanism.
Reflective humanism.
Yeah, it provides a structural counter-approach. Reflective humanism doesn't reject the technology. It completely reframes our interaction with these massive analytical systems.
Okay, reframes how?
Currently, we use AI as a machine for immediate answers and forced meaning, which fuels the compressed loop.
Right, the fast painkiller.
The proposal here is that we should learn to utilize these systems as an atmosphere or a health scan mode.
A health scan mode. Okay, we need to ground this. What does that actually look like functionally?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm sitting at my computer, typing a prompt, how does an AI act as a health scan rather than an answer machine?
Functionally, it means changing the objective of the interaction. Instead of asking the system to act as an oracle that delivers the absolute truth to end your discomfort, you ask the system to reflect your current cognitive position back to you.
Give me an example.
So, if you're researching a heated political conflict, the traditional prompt is, explain who is right.
Right, and you get a synthesized answer.
Yes. The reflective humanism prompt, however, is, analyze my previous questions and show me the assumptions I am making about this conflict. Where are my blind spots?
Oh, wow, I see the difference. The first prompt demands cognitive closure. It kills the exploration.
Exactly.
The second prompt uses the immense processing power of the AI not to end the discomfort, but to clarify it. It's a mirror.
It is a mirror.
But it's not a mirror that tells you if you look attractive. It's a mirror that points out you've been tensing your shoulders and holding your breath for the last hour.
That is a highly accurate way to describe the goal. The text refers to this as maintaining cognitive homeostasis.
Cognitive homeostasis.
It makes you aware of your own cognitive posture. And to explain the mechanics of how this allows for growth, the documentation draws a sharp line between two types of generation, discontinuous generation and continuous generation.
Okay, let's define those. How do they differ?
Discontinuous generation occurs when we operate in a closed world and inevitably crash into steep gradients of change.
Like a wall.
Right. Because we've insulated ourselves with fast explanations, when a true paradigm shift hits, say, a massive technological leap or a global crisis, it's a collision.
Yeah.
It causes immense friction, a massive spike in that transparent pain, and forces a sudden, jarring update to our worldview.
It's the penalty for losing our spare capacity. When you hit a wall at 100 miles an hour, it hurts. And society's instinct is usually to retreat even deeper into familiar, polarized loops to hide from the shock.
Exactly. That's the discontinuous trap. Continuous generation, on the other hand, is about utilizing our tools to keep questions open. It relies on gentle gradients.
Gentle gradients.
If we use AI to constantly reflect our blind spots and maintain our spare capacity, we experience quiet, continuous cognitive growth. We process the unknown dynamically, without the massive systemic shocks.
And the framework argues that AI is actually uniquely suited for this if we use it correctly.
It does. The thesis contains a profound statement regarding this. It argues that AI shouldn't merely be utilized as an information-increasing device.
What should be?
At its highest potential, it should be a technology that generates silence.
Wait, A technology that generates silence.
Yeah.
That almost sounds absurd when you first hear it. I mean, we're talking about machines capable of outputting a million synthesized words a minute. How does an engine like that generate silence?
By absorbing the computational burden of the known so that the human mind has the space to sit with the unknown.
Oh.
If the AI is handling the heavy lifting of mapping our biases and reflecting our assumptions, the human operator isn't forced to rush to a premature conclusion. The silence is the spare capacity.
The blank space.
Exactly. It's the space where human and machine coexist, holding a question open without the neurotic urge to immediately explain it away.
It requires an incredible amount of discipline, though, to resist the urge to just hit the summarize button and resolve the tension. We literally have to train ourselves to let things be unresolved.
You really do.
To bring these massive civilizational concepts back down to the ground, back to you, the listener, and the choices you make today.
What we are really talking about is the architecture of your own mind.
Yes.
The walls of a closed world aren't made of stone or borders. They are made of fast, highly satisfying explanations that quietly assassinate your curiosity. And this brings us to the ultimate open question posed directly by the source material. It's a question that functions as a diagnostic for where we are heading.
What's the question?
Does civilization ultimately need smarter explanations or a greater capacity to remain in contact with what cannot yet be explained?
That is a phenomenal diagnostic. It forces you to examine the very nature of your friction with the world. You know, when you encounter something that baffles you, do you want a system to make the bafflement disappear? Or do you want the internal capacity to hold the weight of the question?
Exactly. And if we want to leave the listener with a final thought to explore on their own, the framework offers a concept called gratitude as an afterglow.
Gratitude as an afterglow.
Yeah, it serves as the emotional counterweight to the structural mechanics we've been discussing.
How does that function within a thesis about cognitive compression? Like, where does gratitude fit in?
Well, the text describes this form of gratitude not as a polite social pleasantry, but as a quiet internal assent to the fact that we have managed to connect with the unknown at all.
Because it's becoming so rare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In a world optimized to feed you your own reflection, encountering something that genuinely confuses you is a rare event.
Yeah.
The gratitude is the realization that the friction, the transparent pain, is actual evidence that you are touching baseline reality. You aren't just interacting with a high-definition simulation of your own past thoughts.
They're actually alive to the world.
Precisely.
So if you can shift your perspective, if you start viewing your moments of confusion or your lack of immediate understanding, not as a failure of your tools or a failure of your own intelligence, but as the very heartbeat of an open human consciousness,
Yeah.
how might that change your behavior?
It changes everything.
The next time you face a search bar or an AI prompt or a complex piece of information that makes you uncomfortable, what will you do? Will you ask for an answer that closes your world? Or will you ask for a mirror that keeps it open?